Welcome to Every Moment His. This is a podcast where we seek to bring every aspect, every moment of our lives under the gentle authority of Jesus Christ, the King of the universe. We're glad you're here when we pray this conversation is a blessing to you. Well, hey, Preston.
Hey, Tim, how are you?
Good, and welcome to the Every Moment His podcast.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we are talking about stewardship, and biblical stewardship just is the overarching idea that everything we have comes from God, and that we are to use it for His glory, His purposes, and to see our whole lives as one of stewarding God's gifts, as opposed to just advancing our own agendas or seeking the most amount of pleasure or ease in our lives. So it overlaps a lot with this idea that God has called us to particular roles. But God has placed us in this place. He's given us talents and skills, and we can use them well or we can use them poorly. We can use our resources well or use them poorly. And so really what I want people to catch is that this is more than just a conversation about money. Stewardship includes money, and typically when I hear the word stewardship, my mind goes to my bank account and what I'm doing. But it's more than that. It's time and energy and talent and resources. How are we employing these things for good? And so I wanted to talk to you because, I don't know, I've known you for almost 6 years now, I guess.
Sounds right.
But when I first met you, even before I met you, I was like, oh, there's this guy, he's playing music at church. And then I was like, oh, there's that same guy, he's playing the bells at church.
More music.
And I was like, oh, this guy's in a band.
There's a theme.
Yeah. But then I was like, oh, he's also on the board at Zion Lutheran School.
The Holy Cross representative, yep.
Yeah, and so I just started to notice you've somehow pulled into your mind and your habits of life, like, I'm going to contribute in the ways that I can to church, to community. And so I thought it'd be cool to just talk to you about that. Like, how did you get there? Like, talk about how did you get from maybe being disinterested or not into that kind of thing to all of a sudden you're kind of a mainstay pillar for a lot of the things that are going on in your community.
Sure, I can do that. But don't you guys normally start with a dad joke?
Yeah, usually.
It says dad jokes on your cup.
I know. Oh, do you have one?
I don't. I don't have one. I heard they weren't making yardsticks any longer, but I don't have any good dad jokes.
You heard that, did you? I think that kind of counts.
Okay, sorry. I just had to.
Well, as soon as I started, I thought, I don't have a dad joke in my head.
I love the dad joke segment, and when you asked me to be a part of it, that's honestly one of the first things that went into my mind. Is like, yeah, I could. To be part of the dad joke.
You know what? You start talking. I'll think about. I'll have one before the end of our
that
session.
that was the dad joke. The yardstick bit.
All right.
You got it right.
All right, that's good enough. Yeah. Come back next time.
So, yeah, how did I get into all of the things that I'm part of, huh? So, in my teens and 20s, I was pretty introverted, and I had kind of strayed away from the church quite a bit, actually. And long story short, when I got back into the church, I kind of looked back on the previous decade or so and realized, like, I hadn't done anything. I just kind of sat in my apartment and done nothing. And I realized, I'm in my late 20s now. I should probably, not be an introvert and not be afraid to talk to people and start being social and get involved in stuff. And one of the first things that I used to break out of that rut was Pastor Lappy and I started the first softball team here at Holy Cross. And that grew into 3 teams. And so I was playing on 3 teams, and the music department, actually that came first. I was coming to church, and I saw they had a guitar in the band, which is not something that I grew up with. And so I just went to Robin and I said, "Hey, Robin, I play the guitar. Can I do that? And she was more than glad to have another volunteer.
For sure, yeah.
That was how I got into all of that. From there, I saw the bell choir, and I was like, oh, I did that in grade school at Zion.
Yeah.
And that was funny. It was in January, and she said, well, we normally have new people start at the beginning of the year, but we'll make an exception. And I was like,
nice.
So there is really no rule, because you don't know me at all, so it's just you can join whenever.
Yeah. I do. You know what? It's amazing how telling that to people like makes them feel special. You know, it's like, we'll make an exception for you.
Robin is the queen of making people feel good.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, she's the best person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Robin's great, and she's a big part of how I got into everything here.
Interesting,
You know, the kids' bells, and then, of course, Jolene now with the No Fret guitar camp. So, one of the reasons that I think doing this stuff is important is community. You know, and so you build these relationships. So I built a pretty strong relationship working with Robin all those years, and now with Jolene, and that opens up to more opportunities. You know, so I was playing the guitar, but then we're gonna have this no fret guitar camp.
Right.
Okay,
so now you're teaching.
I'm gonna be part of that, right? So the more you get involved with, the more you find areas to be involved, and you can really narrow it down to the things that you're good at. Right. And when you asked me to do this, I was thinking about it, and there's a lot of different ways that you could get involved here. And you know, I mean, we got the ladies that make the mats out of the bags. Yeah. Right. I could do that. I can cut plastic with scissors and tie it in a knot, but that's not something that I'm really into.
Sure.
I would be willing to bet that if you ask everybody in that group what they do at home in their free time, they crochet and they knit and they cross stitch, and that's their thing.
That's their hobbies. Yeah.
You take what you're good at and you use that to give, you know, to the church and to other people. And music is one of my big things, so that's why I'm so
jazzed.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So good. I mean, I think that's a big part of like understanding stewardship is understanding yourself. You know, like, what do I like to do? What has God gifted me with an interest and an ability to do? Mm-hmm. Has music generally come easy for you as you've grown into it, or has that been
music is incredibly difficult.
Uphill battle.
Yeah, we're all super, super good at what we do, and it's really, really hard. No. I don't know that I would say it comes easy to me, but when it's something that you enjoy, then it doesn't seem like hard work. Like it does take hard work, but everything takes hard work. Being a pastor takes hard work. Being a receptionist takes. You got to be organized. You got to have certain skill sets, and you have to work at those things. So I don't think that the difficulty is really an issue. It's just finding what your niche is and then really using that as well as you can.
Yeah, so, you know, John and I talked previously about some of the parables that have helped us think about stewardship and in regard to money and how that's shifted. We talked about tithing. This is more about natural gifts and talents and interest in the community, that this conversation, but I think it still applies. Like in the parable of the talents, the master gives gifts, right? These treasures to these people, his servants, and expects them to do something with them. And a lot of people have, scholars have argued about what the talents represent. Some people say it's literally money because it's literally money in the parable, but it's never interpreted by Jesus, and so every guess is a guess. So yeah, it could be just literally money. It could be, you know, what we typically think, you know, time and talent and treasure. It could be faith, you know, but it almost doesn't matter. The point is God has given you something. And so, yeah, I want people to think about, like, what has God given me to do and the skills that I have, and also the only guy who got in trouble in that parable is the guy who buried it.
Mm-hmm.
There was someone who, he got 5 talents, he doubled them. One person got 2 talents, he doubled that. It wasn't about how much they had or the product. It's just that they did something with it.
Yep.
And so what I'd like people to think about is, do I have, this is kind of maybe a guilt trip, but sometimes that's useful. Is there talents I'm just burying?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's the Let Your Light Shine, the little kid song, right?
Sure.
Don't put it under a basket, right?
Yeah, right.
Use what you got.
Yeah, or let the world see your good works so that they can glorify your Father in heaven, So, yeah, maybe talk about, that decade in your life where you maybe were just more insulated from community, and maybe there's someone who's going to listen to this and they recognize they're in that situation too. What are the steps to get out of that?
Yeah. Good question.
It is a good question. I don't know if we have the answer.
I had a lot of stuff prepared to talk about today. That was not. Let's go
derail
deep.
it.
Let's go deep, huh? No, that's. I think that's a good question, and that's good to point out. So, I was living very irresponsibly and selfishly during that period in my life. It was. I didn't have any kids or a wife or anything. I was just a single dude, and I was partying a lot and going to concerts and playing in rock bands and just doing whatever I wanted. But that's kind of empty, and it shows itself to be empty pretty quickly. And it is hard to get out of. You have to be intentional about it. And for me, it took an event that kind of shook me a little bit. And that was Macon being born.
Birth of your first.
Birth of my first kid, yeah. And then you kind of realize, like, oh, I can't be irresponsible and selfish anymore. So for me, that's what it was. But you don't have to have something like that, I don't think. You just have to understand that, selfishness and irresponsibility isn't a good thing. And so, over the last day thinking about doing this after you asked me, I was thinking, what are the reasons that we do these things that we do? And honestly, I never really thought about it until you made me think about it.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good to reflect
on
yourself and why you do things. And a couple of the things that I came up with, first of all, like I said, I'd never thought about it. So I think part of it was, what is it, Proverbs 22, raise a child in the way they should go. Right, so this is what my mom was doing when I was a kid. She was involved in all this stuff. So, if you're a parent out there,
get your kids.
Be a good example to your kids, even if they don't respond to it, and it doesn't look like they're getting it figured out. It took me till I was 28.
Yeah, just give it 15 years.
But it comes back, right? So, those are seeds that you're sowing, and they will grow eventually, hopefully, right? So the reasons I think that these are good things to do is, first of all, Jesus demonstrated being a servant, right? And I think a great story of an example of that is, he washed the disciples' feet. When did he do that? At what point in the story did he do that?
Right before he went to the cross.
Right.
Yeah.
So, an hour before he goes to the garden and is so anxious that he's sweating blood.
Yeah.
So this anxiety isn't something that just popped up. He knew about it a long time before, and he's still serving other people. Right?
Yeah. It's a great call.
So we should follow that example, and it doesn't cost us near as much, and it's fun. Like I said, pick the thing that you're good at. So service to others is a good thing. Selfishness is a bad thing.
Yeah, and sometimes I think we can get caught up in this idea that if no one pays attention to what I'm doing, it's not worth anything, right? So if I'm not a big hit, it's not. So I'm validating what I'm doing based on other people's approval. But I think as a son or a daughter of God, you're motivated by, this is just what God called me to do. Jesus tells this other parable about the servants who are working in the field all day, and then they come back in, And he's like, does the master say, you guys sit down and eat and drink and I'll serve you? Or does he say, make me my food? Mm-hmm. And he says, so too, you have to just say, you know, at the end of the day, we're unworthy servants. We've just done what we've been told. And yes, Jesus actually phrases that kind of in a negative image, but it is actually pretty freeing to think like, what's my motivation? Is it to get the applause? Or is it just because God made me this way and I have the opportunity? And whether or not people are clapping, I know it's what God has told me to do. And so I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna do it. And anyway, so that's just, that motivation goes beyond just the immediate feedback for myself, right?
It definitely should not be done for recognition.
Yeah.
You know?
It might come. Recognition might come. That's great. But you need something deeper than recognition.
It does, you know? I mean, so being on the music team, a lot of people see me play and they see my name in the bulletin every day. It's a very regular thing for me for somebody to come up to me outside of this building and call me by name because they know me and I have no idea who they are. But they see my name every week and they see my face, and so I get that recognition. But that's not why I do it, right? Mm-hmm. Not at all. I don't want the recognition, you know. And it's not. That's not where the value comes from. Do the people who take care of the altar guild, like, we never see them. Is their job not valuable?
Yeah.
No, it's extremely valuable. So you can't. If you're looking for recognition, you're doing it wrong, right?
Yeah. So it's this kind of intrinsic motivation of like, I'm just gonna, you know, come what may, I'm just gonna serve because it's good. And I think too, like, if you're someone who's sitting on the couch watching TV 5 hours a day, we need you.
Yeah,
right?
Man.
The church needs you. You can build someone up and you have a bigger purpose, you know, like you weren't created to just, you know, dopamine bomb your brain all evening and then go to sleep. Like, there's so many things in the community that are needful. And I think about things like coaching kids sports or something like that. It's like, it's not that trying of a job.
No, man.
It's fun. And like, all the parents are busy and stressed out. It's like, can you do it? Then do it.
I coached traveling soccer for a couple years.
Nice.
I don't know anything about soccer, Tim. I literally know nothing. And I was considered for the head coach of the traveling.
Oh, wow. Just because you could write the emails?
Just because I signed up.
Right.
That's why. Yeah. Just because I wanted to be involved in the my kids' lives, first of all, but also willing to give my time and to be involved with other people's kids. And so
there you go.
I mean, you can do things that you don't know you can do. They're not that hard most of the time.
Well, I think, and we're in this era where volunteerism is continuing to drop. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I think one of the heart issues is just they're not thinking this way. They're not thinking, this is my little square of creation that God has placed me in, and I have some responsibility to God and to these people to use whatever talents I have.
So following Jesus' example is the first reason that you should do this. But a couple other reasons that I discovered after I started thinking about all this is, one, like I said, it builds community. You think you enjoy sitting on the couch watching TV all night, and maybe you do, but once you go out and become part of a group, it's so much more fulfilling.
Yeah. It's more exciting too.
It's so much more exciting.
Yeah.
And then you have people that have your back, you know? What are you going to do if you need somebody someday? You're sitting on the couch all day, you don't have any friends, right?
That's right.
If you need somebody, well, look, you plugged into the multiple groups or whatever, and you've got that support group, and then you can be supportive of them in return when they need it, and that's a great feeling. That's much more fulfilling. And if nothing else, the third reason that I think it's good is that it just gives you a sense of consistency in your schedule and accountability, you know? So when I first started playing guitar here, Robin asked me what I wanted my schedule to be. And I didn't really put thought into it, but I'm glad that I answered the way I did because it worked out really well. I said, well, every Sunday, right? Like, there's music every Sunday. I'm going to be in the band, so I play every Sunday,
That's
right?
my schedule.
That's what it should be. And she's like, well, most people just do once a month or every other week or whatever. And I was like, let's just do every week. And what that does is it doesn't give you an excuse to miss, right? Like, oh, maybe I overslept for 9:30 and I'll just go to 11. But I slept till 10:50 because I hit the snooze a bunch of times, and now I'm just, I'll go next week, right? Well, that's not good.
Now people are waiting for you.
You don't want to miss church. You really don't. So if you tie yourself in to having a job, to be a part of it, it's not even a job. It's I'm part of this. Yeah. This is an important thing, and I'm actually part of it. So
I've heard a lot of conversation in the parenting realm about this kind of thing. Like, kids have a lot of tasks they have to do, but not a lot of responsibility. So, like, there's not a lot of if you don't do this, the whole endeavor will fail. And kids actually really need that. They need to be put on the spot, and it's up to you. That's why sports are really good to teach this. But a lot of kids are just missing this aspect of life. Like, you're in charge. It's up to you. Because it's like something that absolutely forces growth, because it's forcing that feedback. So it's like, if you're a kid and you have a paper route, if you didn't do it, you didn't do it. It was you. You know, and it's not like that's the worst thing in the world. You'll probably hear about it.
Yeah.
But I think these kinds of things for kids in particular, it's like, no, you're playing guitar this Sunday, so you got to be there, because people are, and if you don't practice, people will know. At least some people.
Yeah.
And so it's this kind of like direct responsibility actually really helps us to grow and really opens up the horizons of who we are, as people. It actually helps us discover who we are as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, I actually remembered a joke. Do you want? I don't want to spoil our first joke.
Go for it.
But So what did the Morticians do for their Halloween party? They hosted an open mic night.
Okay.
That's a PG-13 joke, man.
Seasonal. It's seasonal.
It's Halloween based. All right. Well, hey, thank you for coming and talking about this. And I hope that, first of all, I'm really thankful for all the things you do. I think that's cool. And I'm hopeful that someone will hear this and they're sitting on the couch and they're like, this is boring.
Thanks for the opportunity. And I hope so too, because it really, you get more out of it than you give.
Cool.
You really do.
Yeah, it might be a little bit of a long-term return, but it will come.
It is.
It's not as instant gratification as like playing a game on your phone.
Yeah, you don't get that like
dopamine,
that super acute dopamine hit, right? But it's a more sustaining feeling, and I don't think it even takes that long, especially in a place like this where you join a group. What is it going to take you like years to make friends with those people? No, they're going to be welcoming. Yeah. They want to see you there. You're gonna be in right away.
Yeah, you'll be reaping the rewards soon.
You get that community right away. You get that feeling of better to give than receive right away.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Preston.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode. We hope it was useful for you. If you found this particularly useful, you can share this episode with friends or family. You can also subscribe to our podcast in whatever platform you're using, or give us a review. That really helps other people find our podcast. This is also a teaching ministry of Holy Cross in Kearney, Nebraska. And so if you do not have a church, we would love to welcome you into our community to build you up and to share the joy of salvation with you and the rest of the members here at Holy Cross.